Good day, everyone. My name is Jean Vincent Javier Piñas, and today we will gonna talk about grammar and its accompanying subtopics, as well as grammaring in its three foci, namely the form, the use, and the meaning. What is grammar? According to the linguist Diane Larson Freeman, grammar is a system of meaningful structures and patterns that are governed by particular pragmatic constraints. In addition, grammar are rules of a language that governs the sounds, words, sentences, and other elements as well as their combination and interpretation. The word grammar also denotes the study of these abstract features or a book presenting these rules. In a restricted sense, the term refers only to the study of sentence and word structure. These are the syntax and morphology, excluding vocabulary and pronunciation. A common contemporary definition of grammar is the underlying structure of a language that any native speakers of that language knows intuitively. The systematic description of the features of a language is also a grammar. These features are the phonology, which is pertaining to the sound, morphology, which are the systems of word formation, syntax, which are the patterns of word arrangement, and semantics, which pertains to meaning. Depending on the grammarian's approach, a grammar can be prescriptive, for example, provide rules for correct usage. Descriptive, which describes how a language is actually used. And generative, which provides instructions for the production of infinite number of sentences in a language. The traditional focus of the inquiry has been on morphology and syntax, and for some contemporary linguists and many traditional grammarians, this is the only proper domain of the subject. And now, let's move on to grammaring. Did you know that the American linguist Diane Larson Freeman coined the term grammaring, which is described as the ability to use grammar constructions accurately, meaningfully, and appropriately. Additionally, she stressed that grammaring has an active nature with the ing suffix reflecting this condition. Therefore, since grammar is seen as a skill to be developed, classifying grammaring into a language teaching and learning theories implies an ability to follow the steps of a skill theory-based instructions. Grammaring is sometimes used to refer to the process by which language learners use grammar to create messages through grammaticalizing or adding grammar to a sequence of words to create finer meaning distinctions. The linguist Diane Larson Freeman proposed grammar as an important process in a second language acquisition. Grammaring emphasizes grammar as a dynamic process rather than as a system of rules. In addition, grammar is no longer conceived as a description of language or a native speaker's competence. Thus, a paradigm shift arose about the teaching and learning of grammar. The purpose behind teaching grammar is no longer the transmission of knowledge, rather than teaching grammar is now performed to enable students to use grammatical structures accurately, meaningfully, and appropriately. In this respect, Larson Freeman further states that grammar teaching is not so much knowledge transmission as it is a skill development. Thus, different activities have started to focus on developing such a skill. The teaching and learning of grammar has seen as one of the most hotly debated topics in the field of language education. The controversy over what exactly grammar has led to the development of different models that attempted to account for grammar differently. Grammar was considered a method of language teaching and learning within the so-called grammar translation approach. Within this approach, which draws from philology, grammar was viewed as the core of language. However, with the shifts from philology to linguistics, the notion of grammar has changed accordingly. With the eruption of modern linguistics, grammar began to be described as a system of structures in addition to vocabulary and pronunciation. And according to Larson Freeman, grammar is to be seen as a skill and not as a competence. That is, when we speak or write, we are always involved in doing grammar, whether consciously or unconsciously. Hence, this process of doing grammar is termed grammaring. There are 3 dimensions of grammaring, and each dimension has a set of prototypical units. The first dimension is form, which embraces sound or phonemes, written symbols, inflectional morphemes, functional words, and syntactic structures of grammar. Then, the second dimension is meaning, which has to do with semantics, including the prototypical units of lexips, derivational morphemes, multi-word lexical strings, and notions. Lastly, the third dimension is the use, which is related to pragmatics and deals with social functions as speech acts and discourse patterns. Therefore, if a teacher decides to develop grammaring in his or her students, he or she would have to design or find activities that individually or collectively activate the 3 dimensions of form, meaning, and use. So I hope you have gained knowledge from my topic in today's discussion. This is me again, John Vincent Javier Piñas, telling you to have fun while learning. God bless!